This project was put together by Reece Aguilar, Carr, and Pacheco. Although Eisenhower was controversial in his intervention and rollback efforts against the communists, his Cold War rhetoric, booming economy, and general perception proved that he was successful in keeping the population calm during the Cold War. Eisenhower was clearly in favor of realism and intervention, and it is seen in his attempt to purge Guatemala of the supposed dictator Jacobo Arbenz. Clearly, it is more reasonable to argue that Eisenhower's grounds for overthrowing Arbenz were based on hysteria and misconception. Specifically, Eisenhower had mistaken nationalism for rising communism. Regardless of how little justification there was for Eisenhower's actions, whether or not the public remained calm is still a question of perception. Polls indicate that the public, for the most part, continued to support the effort of rollback against the communists and view the policies of Eisenhower as a necessary part for the war against communism. Again, Eisenhower misunderstood the boundaries of his economic goals for the U.S. with his goals of preventing the spread of communism in Iran when he was protecting the interests of British Petroleum. The CIA had overthrown the peacefully elected Mohammad Mossadegh and replaced him with Shah Pahlavi, who was not against the economic interests of the U.S. Because of the blended boundary, the public was inclined to believe that he was acting for the benefit of the U.S., thus creating a sense of normalcy. To some extent, it is true that Eisenhower's intentions for building a highway could have caused a small degree of panic, but the Highway Act of 1965's true purpose for assisting military aircrafts in the event of a catastrophe was successfully disguised. Eisenhower's development of transportation infrastructure was, for the most part, robust and an excellent way of creating an economic and social sense of security. With the invention of the interstate highway system, Eisenhower was able to the economy and improve travel. Since the highway construction was seen as a public works, more money was being put into consumers, therefore allowing them to consume more. The Eisenhower administration is often seen as a time of great prosperity by the people, in spite of the administration's foreign policy. America's experienced a booming economy, as seen by a drive in movies, malt shops, pegged pans, food shops, and an increase in television. There are grounds to make the argument that this was due to a false sense of security. However, a false sense of security is still a sense of security nonetheless. During Eisenhower's campaign, the public was especially concerned with how the nation was to respond and prevent communism. Aside from Eisenhower's administration's policy of rollback, there was also an evident need to match the Soviet Union in stockpiling nuclear weapons. There was a growing fear that the failure to adequately address the issue of Russian nuclear weapons will result in an imminent destruction of the United States. A nuclear war would inevitably ensue because of a lack of cooperation between the two countries to participate in brinkmanship. During his presidency, Eisenhower was able to create a stable and adaptable campaign by using propaganda to focus on the idea of peace, and this propaganda would create a sense of trust that would last throughout Eisenhower's administration. Eisenhower's goal was to achieve an advantage over the Soviet Union and put them on the defensive psychologically and militarily. Notably, Eisenhower had given a speech known as Ads for Peace, in which the public received clarification on the rhetorical aspects of Eisenhower's nuclear and foreign policy. While it may be true that Eisenhower took immense risk in informing the public of what the administration was to do in regards to proliferation and disarmament, Eisenhower's disclosure did not cause panic, Generally, Eisenhower received positive feedback, and the public knew that Eisenhower's end goal was peace. So, this made it relatively easy for the public to accept his somewhat controversial policies in dealing with the Soviet Union because they truly believed that the ends were to justify the means. Eisenhower's campaign strategy and rhetoric appealed to the public need for winning the arms race, which gave citizens the impression that they were in good hands. Characteristically, Eisenhower proved to be an individual that the public was able to place their trust in. The general idea was that a politician was held accountable for their discourse and words. It was practically a code of honor that was believed by society to be impenetrable. And Eisenhower realized this and took measures to perfect the speech. In process of writing the speech, he was able to acquire multiple editors and write several drafts. Rhetorical power therefore translated into trust and stability within the society. This was shown when Eisenhower would play golf to communicate